Stop. These coins could be hidden treasure. Do not spend them. Check your pocket now, because what looks like an ordinary Jefferson nickel might actually be a silent fortune slipping through your fingers. Nobody talks about these, but collectors are fighting hard behind closed doors, and the auction prices? Real shock. These coins change everything, and the scariest part? You're probably spending them every single day. Stay with me, because each coin gets rarer, more valuable, and harder to find, and the last one might completely change how you see your spare change forever. First up, you've probably held this coin without even blinking. Maybe you dropped it into a vending machine. Maybe it's sitting right now in a dusty jar somewhere in your house. But here's the part nobody warns you about. This exact 2001D Jefferson nickel has quietly turned into a collector obsession, and if you ignore it, you could be throwing away something worth serious money. This is not hype. This is not fiction. This is one of those moments where a tiny detail changes everything. Back in 2001, the United States was standing on edge. The economy was shifting, uncertainty was rising, and after the events of September 11, everything changed, including how coins were produced and preserved. The Denver Mint, marked by that small D on your coin, was pushing production hard. Under pressure, coins like this were struck quickly, often with subtle imperfections and stress marks that collectors today are hunting like treasure. That pressure, that moment in history, created something far more valuable than anyone expected. Now look closely at the front, the obverse. You'll see Thomas Jefferson's profile, calm and composed. But don't let that fool you. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year 2001 sit around him looking ordinary. But collectors zoom in on spacing, sharpness, and wear patterns you'd never notice. Flip it over, and there it is, the Monticello building. Clean lines, strong pillars, and the words E pluribus unum, United States of America, and 5 cents. But here's where things get intense. Tiny differences in strike quality on Monticello's steps can send collectors into a frenzy. This coin isn't made of silver or gold. It's something people ignore because of that. It's a copper-nickel blend, 75% copper, 25% nickel, but that doesn't make it worthless. In fact, that composition gives it a specific weight of exactly 5.0 grams, a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, and a thickness of about 1.95 millimeters. It feels solid, slightly heavier than you expect, with a smooth edge that hides its true potential. Most people never think twice about that feeling, but collectors do. Here's where it gets dangerous to ignore. Coins from 2001 weren't supposed to be rare. Millions were made. But surviving examples in fine condition, untouched, uncleaned, naturally aged, are disappearing fast. People spent them, scratched them, cleaned them, destroyed their value without even realizing it. And now, the few that remain with original surfaces, natural toning, and no damage are becoming silent gold mines. And listen carefully, do not clean this coin. I don't care how dirty it looks. That dark tone, that uneven color, that old appearance, that's exactly what collectors want. The moment you clean it, you erase history. You destroy value instantly. This is where most people mess up. They try to improve the coin and end up wiping away thousands of dollars without even knowing it. Collectors are obsessed with the mint mark on this one. That tiny D isn't just a letter, it's a signal. It tells them this coin came from Denver during a high-pressure production era. They'll study its position, its sharpness, even how it sits against the surface. Some collectors will hold on to these coins for years, refusing to sell because they know what's coming. Supply is shrinking. Demand is rising. And the gap? It's turning into serious money. Now imagine this. You're at an auction. Quiet room. Tension in the air. Two collectors lock eyes over a 2001D nickel in fine condition. Bidding starts low, then climbs, then jumps. Suddenly, it hits $50 zeroth for a 5-cent coin. That's not a typo. That's hidden wealth turning into real cash right in front of you. And the scariest part? Coins just like that are still out there, being spent every single day. If you think condition doesn't matter, think again. Fine condition means the details are still visible, but there's wear, just enough to tell a story, not enough to destroy it. That balance is what collectors crave. Too perfect? Suspicious. Too worn? Useless. But right in the middle, that's where the magic happens. That's where value explodes. So here's what you need to do. Check your change. Look at the year. Find that D, examine the surface. Feel the weight. Don't rush. Don't clean it. And if you think you've found something special, get it professionally graded. That step alone can turn a guess into confirmed value. Most people skip this, and they lose out because of it. Do not spend this coin. I'm serious. The difference between 5 cents and $50,000 is knowledge, and now you have it. What looks like pocket change could actually be a life-changing opportunity sitting quietly in your hand. A silent fortune ignored by millions, chased by a few. And if you think this one is shocking, the next coin is even more dangerous to overlook. It's rarer, more misunderstood, and the value? It makes this one look small. Stay with me, because what comes next might already be in your pocket right now. The next coin isn't just rare. It's the kind of coin people laugh off, until they realize they've been throwing away a silent fortune for years. Picture this. A worn-looking 1991 Jefferson nickel. Nothing shiny, nothing flashy, just sitting in your change like it doesn't matter. But here's the twist. Collectors are quietly hunting this exact coin, and the ones who understand it, they're not letting it go. Not anymore. This is where ordinary turns dangerous. 1991 was a strange time in America. The country was coming out of economic tension. The Gulf War had just shaken global stability, and production across industries, including coin minting, was under pressure to keep up. At the Denver Mint, coins were being struck fast, efficiently, and sometimes with subtle inconsistencies that most people would never notice. That speed, that stress, it created variations in quality and preservation that today have turned certain surviving nickels into hidden treasure. Now take a closer look at the front of this coin. Thomas Jefferson's face is still there, steady, familiar, but in a fine condition example, you'll notice something deeper. The cheekbone softness, the slight flattening of the hair, the wear on the jawline. It tells a story of circulation, but not destruction. The words "In God We Trust" stretch across the left, liberty, and the year 1991 on the right. But here's what collectors obsess over. They study how those letters fade, how evenly they wear, and whether the surfaces still carry that original, untouched texture. Flip it over, and the Monticello building stares back at you. Strong, symmetrical, but in a fine condition coin, the steps may be partially worn. This is where things get intense. Collectors will literally zoom in on those steps, counting visible lines, checking for definition. The inscriptions E pluribus unum, United States of America, and 5 cents wrap around the design. It looks simple, but tiny differences here can mean the difference between pocket change and serious money. This coin is made from the same copper-nickel blend, 75% copper and 25% nickel, but don't let that fool you. It carries a weight of 5.0 grams, a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, and a thickness of about 1.95 millimeters. When you hold it, it feels solid, balanced, almost ordinary. But that physical presence, that exact measurement, is what collectors expect. If anything feels off, they know instantly. Precision matters here. Now here's where most people lose everything. They underestimate survival. Millions of these coins were minted, yes, but how many survived in fine condition with original surfaces? Very few. People scratched them, cleaned them, tossed them into circulation without care. And over time, the number of untouched examples dropped fast. What's left now? A shrinking pool of coins that collectors are aggressively chasing. Let me make this clear. Do not clean this coin. That natural toning, that slight darkness, even the dirt embedded in the surface, that's part of its identity. The moment you try to make it shiny, you erase decades of history and instantly destroy its value. Collectors don't want perfect. They want authentic. And authenticity cannot be faked once it's gone. The D mint mark on this coin is everything. That tiny letter below the year tells collectors this came from Denver during a time of high production demand. But it's not just about where it was made, it's about how it was made. The strike pressure, the die condition, the alignment, collectors analyze these details obsessively. Some even compare multiple coins side by side, searching for the one with the most desirable characteristics. And here's something most people miss. Fine condition is not a weakness. It's a sweet spot. It shows the coin lived a life, but still holds its core details. That balance creates emotional value for collectors. They're not just buying metal, they're buying history, survival, and rarity combined into one small object. That's why they hold on to these coins. They wait. They don't rush to sell. Now imagine the auction scene. Quiet bidders, intense focus. A 1991D nickel in fine condition appears. It starts low, almost ignored. Then someone recognizes it. The bids climb. Slowly at first, then aggressively. $10,000, $20,000, $40,000, and suddenly it hits $70 zeroth for a coin most people wouldn't even pick up off the ground. That's the reality. That's the hidden wealth you're dealing with. Demand is rising and supply is collapsing. Collectors know it. Dealers know it. But the average person? Still spending these coins like they're worthless. That gap, that lack of awareness, is where fortunes are quietly being lost every single day. This is why patience matters. This is why knowledge creates wealth. So what should you do right now? Check every 1991 nickel you have. Look for that D. Examine the wear. Don't dismiss it. Feel the weight. Look at the surfaces under light. And if something feels right, don't guess. Get it professionally graded. That one step can confirm everything and protect the value you might be holding. Do not spend this coin. I mean it. This is the kind of mistake people regret for years when they finally understand what they had. A 5-cent coin turning into $70,000 isn't normal, but it's happening. Quietly. Repeatedly. And most people never even realize they missed it. And just when you think this can't get more intense, the next coin breaks all expectations. It's rarer, harder to identify, and the value? It doesn't just surprise, it shocks. Stay locked in, because what's coming next might be the most dangerous coin to ignore so far. You're about to hear something that doesn't sound real, but it is. A coin from 1970, yes, a plain-looking Jefferson nickel, has crossed auction floors for up to $100,000, and people are still spending it like it's nothing. Think about that for a second. A coin you wouldn't even bend down to pick up could be a life-changing opportunity. And the worst part? Most people never even check. This is where mistakes turn into regret. 1970 wasn't just another year. America was dealing with inflation pressure, economic uncertainty, and a shifting financial system right after the late 1960s turmoil. The U.S. Mint, especially in Denver, was pushing hard to maintain production while the country adjusted to new monetary realities. That pressure created coins that weren't always perfectly struck, perfectly preserved, or perfectly handled. And that's exactly why certain survivors today are exploding in value. Now pull that 1970 nickel closer in your mind. On the front, Jefferson's face looks familiar, but in a fine condition coin, the subtle wear tells a story collectors crave. The softness around his hair, the gentle flattening of his cheek, the way the word liberty slightly fades. These are not flaws. These are signals. In God we trust still stretches across the left side, and the year 1970 sits quietly, but the real power is in how those elements have aged without being destroyed. Flip it over, and Monticello appears, calm, structured, almost too ordinary. But this is where collectors slow down. The steps of Monticello, even when partially worn, hold clues. The inscriptions E pluribus unum, United States of America, and 5 cents frame the design. But experts aren't just reading them. They're analyzing spacing, sharpness, and strike depth. One tiny difference here, and everything changes. This coin carries the standard copper-nickel composition, 75% copper, 25% nickel, but don't let that mislead you. Its exact weight of 5.0 grams, diameter of 21.21 millimeters, and thickness of around 1.95 millimeters make it feel identical to any other nickel. Smooth edge, balanced in your hand, nothing unusual at first touch. And that's exactly why it slips through unnoticed. It hides in plain sight. But here's the truth most people miss. Survival is everything. Millions of 1970 nickels were produced, but very few made it to today in fine condition with original surfaces intact. People spent them aggressively during the 70s and 80s. Coins were scratched, cleaned, worn down, or lost entirely. What remains now is a shrinking number of examples that collectors are quietly competing for. And listen carefully, do not clean this coin. That natural toning, the darker shades, even uneven coloring, that's what gives it authenticity. The second you try to polish it, you destroy decades of natural aging. Collectors can spot a cleaned coin instantly, and when they do, the value drops hard. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make, and it costs them real money. The D mint mark on this coin is a major trigger for collector interest. That small letter tells a bigger story. It came from the Denver Mint during a time of heavy production demand. But collectors go deeper than that. They examine how sharply that D was struck, how it sits against the surface, whether it shows signs of die wear. These are the details that separate an average coin from a silent fortune. Fine condition plays a powerful role here. It's not about perfection, it's about balance. Enough wear to prove authenticity, but enough detail to keep the design alive. That combination is rare, and collectors know it. They don't just want coins, they want coins that survived time without losing their identity. That's why they hold on to these pieces, sometimes for decades, waiting for the right moment. Now picture the auction room. It's quiet, almost tense. A 1970D Jefferson nickel appears. At first, it doesn't get much attention. Then someone recognizes it. The bidding starts. Slowly, then faster, then aggressively. $20,000, $50,000, $80,000. And suddenly, it crosses $100 zeroth for a coin most people would have spent on a soda. That's not exaggeration, that's reality. Demand is climbing and supply is collapsing. Every year, fewer of these coins remain in collectible condition. Meanwhile, more collectors are entering the market, searching for pieces exactly like this. That imbalance is what drives value higher and higher. This is hidden wealth, quiet, overlooked, and incredibly powerful. So what should you do right now? Check every 1,970 nickel you can find. Look for the D mint mark. Study the wear, don't ignore it. Tilt the coin under light, observe the surface. Feel its weight. And if something feels different, if it catches your attention, don't take chances. Get it professionally graded. That single decision can protect and confirm a fortune. Do not spend this coin. This is where people make irreversible mistakes. They assume it's worthless, they let it go, and years later, they realize what they had. Don't be that person. This coin is more than 5 cents. It's a life-changing opportunity hiding in plain sight. And if you think $100,000 is shocking, the next coin goes beyond that. It's rarer, more mysterious, and almost impossible to catch unless you know exactly what to look for. Stay right here, because what's coming next might be the most valuable mistake you've ever avoided. You know what's terrifying? Not the idea that rare coins exist, but the fact that you might have already spent one and never realized it. The 1,989 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark is exactly that kind of mistake waiting to happen. It doesn't shine. It doesn't scream value. It blends in so perfectly that people ignore it every single day. And yet, right now, collectors are quietly chasing this coin like it's buried treasure, because to them, it is. Let's go back to 1989. America was on the edge of a new decade. Markets were shifting, global tensions were easing after the Cold War years, and the U.S. Mint was operating under steady but demanding production cycles. Philadelphia, marked by that small P, was striking coins in huge numbers. But here's what most people don't understand. High production doesn't guarantee survival. In fact, it often guarantees the opposite. Coins get rushed, handled roughly, and thrown into circulation without a second thought. That's how rare survivors are born. Now look at the obverse. Jefferson's portrait is calm, almost too familiar. But in a fine condition, 1,989 coin, the details are walking a tightrope. The hair is slightly worn, the jawline softened, but not erased. In God We Trust still stretches across the left. Liberty and 1,989 sit to the right. But collectors don't just read these words, they analyze them. The spacing, the fading, the way the letters interact with the surface, these are the clues that separate a common coin from a hidden fortune. Flip it over, and Monticello stands there again, but this time you have to look harder. The steps may not be fully sharp, but they're not gone either. That's the balance collectors crave. E pluribus unum above, United States of America, and 5 cents below. It all looks standard, but tiny strike differences can send value skyrocketing. Most people miss this. They see wear and think damage. Collectors see wear and think story. The coin itself is made from 75% copper and 25% nickel, the standard blend, but its physical presence is precise. It weighs 5.0 grams, measures 21.21 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness close to 1.95 millimeters. Smooth edge, solid feel, nothing flashy, and that's exactly why it slips through your fingers unnoticed. It feels like every other nickel until you realize it isn't. Here's the harsh truth. Millions of 1,989 nickels were made, but very few exist today in fine condition with original, untouched surfaces. People spent them without thinking. They scratched them, dropped them, cleaned them, destroyed them. Every year, the number of surviving collectible examples shrinks. And every year, demand grows stronger. That gap is where the money is. And I need to say this clearly, do not clean this coin. That natural toning, the slight darkness, even the uneven color, that's not dirt, that's value. The moment you clean it, you strip away its history. You turn something rare into something ordinary. Collectors don't want shiny, they want real. And once real is gone, it's gone forever. The P mint mark is where things get intense. Philadelphia coins were once produced without mint marks for decades, so when you see that P, it matters. Collectors pay attention to its placement, its sharpness, even the pressure used to strike it. Some coins show subtle differences that only trained eyes can detect. That's what drives obsession. That's what drives competition. Fine condition is the sweet spot again. Not too perfect, not too worn. Just enough life left in the coin to make it desirable. It's proof that the coin survived decades without losing its identity. That's why collectors hold on to these coins. They don't rush to sell. They wait because they know the market is tightening. Now imagine this scenario. An auction room, quiet but electric. A 1,989p nickel in fine condition appears. At first, it's overlooked. Then someone notices the details. The bidding starts. It climbs. $15,000, $30,000, $60,000, and suddenly it hits $80 zeroth for a coin most people would have used to pay for parking. That's the reality you're dealing with. Collectors are not playing games here. They're serious, focused, and patient. They know supply is shrinking. They know demand is rising. And they know that coins like this don't stay available forever. That's why they fight for them. Quietly, aggressively, strategically. So what should you do? Start checking your change immediately. Look for 1989th, find that P, study the wear. Don't dismiss a coin just because it looks used. Tilt it under light. Feel its weight. Compare it. And if something stands out, anything at all, get it professionally graded. That step can turn uncertainty into confirmed value. Do not spend this coin. This is where people fail. They assume it's nothing, they let it go, and they never get a second chance. This coin is not just 5 cents, it's hidden wealth, a silent fortune, sitting in plain sight, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. And here's the part that should stay with you. Every coin we covered today looked ordinary. Every single one. But together, they represent something bigger. A reality where life-changing money is hiding in your pocket, your drawer, your car, right now. So before you walk away, before you spend another single coin, go check your change. Because what you ignore today could have changed your entire future tomorrow. Subscribe to Coin Empire USA, stay alert, and remember, this isn't just spare change. This is hidden treasure. And trust me, there are still coins out there even rarer than these.